Hello guys, it's GirlGotGame. Welcome back to London Detective Mysteria, where we are doing Kenichirou Akachi's bad ending. And it's ominously quiet because it's time to choose between our boys on screen, Holmes and Akachi. So, yeah, this is where we begin diverging the bad endings. And last time we decided to stop Akachi, call out to him. And I feel very guilty now about calling out to my other boy Holmes, but we need to do that if we're going to get this bad ending. So let's begin. They're fighting. Time to yell out, Holmes! Wait, Holmes!
Miss Whiteley, when did you get here?
As though he expected to resume the battle at any time, Holmes turned only his head to me without dropping his stance. Haven't you heard that two wrongs don't make a right? I stepped between them. Okay, actually, what I should do... I forgot to do this before, sorry. How do I... This isn't the right thing. Let's see... Is it... game? Yes. Display mode... No, that's not right. Is it text? Yes. Highlight previously read text. That way I'll know when I'm back on track and I don't need to worry about not skipping again. Okay, I still need to eat this myself because if I give it to Kobayashi, I'll be doing the Kobayashi ending. And we're not doing that for a little while. So we get a little bit of a heart with Akachi. And is that the last option for this chapter? It is. So we just have to skip through all of this stuff and then go on to the next episode. Or next chapter, rather. And then see... Then we have some different stuff to pick again. Quite a few. That's the long one with the disciple with Rick. Alright, we just gotta skip through all this backstory. That's very touching. But we can't talk about it this time. Okay, there we go. Next chapter. Poor Rick. Hopefully Rick doesn't get rejected through my actions or inactions. Okay, so this time, if I'm caught eavesdropping... I'm dreadfully curious what all this is about, but if I eavesdrop again, Akachi may become upset. I thought about it. Follow them? Go along my merry way? Listen? Don't?
Miss Whiteley, if you intend to follow them, I suggest you formulate a proper excuse to offer up in the event you're caught.
It's rude to assume I'll be caught before I've made the attempt. Okay, so Holmes was gonna help us with that one. Interesting. Is that because I called out to you, Holmes? Okay, and then this part. Instead of being forthright, be indecisive. I hurried all this way, flustered and desperate to tell him, but here I am, paused. I just can't seem to find the right words.
Are you alright, Emily?
I had let worry and panic get the better of me. Found myself frustratingly unable to articulate what I wanted to say. Kobayashi shot me a look of concern.
Miss Whiteley, take a deep breath, think, and speak when you are ready. If you have something important to tell us, we'll wait here until you are ready to share. You are under no pressure.
Thank you. Hearing Akachi's voice soothed my tensions, and I did as he said. I inhaled deeply, allowing the panic to course its way outward. Okay, so I took a moment. He very considerately gave me a moment. Okay, and then he's going to ask us why we did what we did in a little bit. First, we gotta go save him with our investigative prowess. And this one, I think you say because you're my friend? Yes. Not quite as mean as because you're my schoolmate. Well, because you're my friend. And I won't stand idle when a friend is in need. It simply isn't in me. Okay. There wasn't much change there. And now we're going detectorating. So I think I can pick either of the other two, but the one I have written down is the elderly woman. Why not start with that elderly woman? According to the owner, she browsed the shop for a while before settling on the vase and specifically requested that it be carefully wrapped. Wrapping of that sort suggests to me that it may have been intended as a gift.
She used a walking stick as well, which leads me to believe she isn't especially mobile. She couldn't comfortably walk more than a short distance. As by all appearances she is a member of the nobility, she most likely arrived by carriage.
Agreed. That gives us our next step. And what would happen to be that next step? Gather eyewitness reports on carriages. I say we ask if anyone along the street noticed the carriage she used. She may have hailed a cab or used her family's carriage, but whatever the choice, if we can't discover where she went, we'll never be able to reclaim the vase. I'm such a detective.
It could take some time, but that is absolutely the best way of finding her.
The three of us went our separate ways and began asking locals if they recalled an older woman boarding a carriage. Fortunately, her unusual attire rendered her memorable to several people we inquired, and these reports led us to the coachman of the carriage she had called upon to transport her home. Having been thus presented her address, we continued to her home where, after some persuading, we convinced her to sell us the vase, which she had indeed bought as a present for her husband. Okay. Interesting. I really don't know if that made any difference, but it was interesting all the same. Okay, and then that's the end of our choices for this chapter. So it's just him with Rick and the bullies. And then it's the next chapter where we have 2 more choices we have to make. And then that'll be it. And then we should have a new chapter that we haven't done before. Oh, this is the one where Emily gets kidnapped, I think. Potentially. This is with Gehar. Okay, so this time I gotta protect the basket instead of myself. My body instinctively twisted to protect the basket in my hands from harm. Before I knew it, however, both I and my basket were plucked mid-fall by the arms of another. Oh! Well, that was unexpected. Hi, Kobayashi. Sneak peek for your route. Hey, I'll take it.
Emily! Are you alright?
Kobayashi!
I ended up returning here before Akachi, and what do I find? You! Well, you falling.
This music. Stopping my fall as he had, our faces were now far nearer than they had ever before been.
You're not hurt, are you?
As he braced my shoulders, he looked at my face with concern. Thank God he saved me from taking a nasty spell. Not at all. Thank you for saving me. He was close. So very, very close. In stature, he was easily the smallest member of our class, but in that moment, he seemed far larger than all of them. Oh boy, we're distracted again. Forgive me for nearly crashing headlong into you.
Forgive what? A bit of crashing never hurt anyone. Besides, we men have a duty to protect women at all costs. That's why we were made so sturdy.
I'm not so certain that's true, Kobayashi.
Both here and in Japan, it's considered a point of courtesy that men should protect women. Still, this country seems to have so many women who don't need a man to protect them at all. Like you, Emily.
Is that a bad thing?
I don't think so. I wouldn't particularly want every woman to feel they have to be tough or tower over every man they see, but a girl with strength is special in her own way.
Dang. Kobayashi respects women. Strong women. After seeing to it that I was soundly back on my feet, Kobayashi gently took his hands from my shoulders.
You're strong, and you're kind as well. Seeing girls like you made me think, right from the beginning, that Engelsch can't be a bad place.
Kobayashi.
I know that's a whole lot of bluster, but I swear I mean every word of it.
I know. I know you by now, Kobayashi. The smile on his face was sweet, as was humble, but seeing it brought a similar smile to me.
That's strange. Ever since running into you, there's been this delicious scent lingering in the air.
That's love. Kobayashi's gaze was firmly fixed upon the basket in my hands, his eyes twinkling with the expectation of what might be inside.
What have you got there? Could it be what I think it is? More of Pendleton's cooking?
He can tell by scent alone. He really does have a sweet tooth, doesn't he? Oh man, that preview for Kobayashi's route. I was not expecting it. I love that picture though, it's so cute. That somehow soothed my my injured heart as we're doing the bad ending. Okay, so we want to do this, right? Yes. This is our last different choice, and then we should have mucked everything up enough to get the bad ending.
There's no telling how much longer I have to spend with them. What I do know is that I should treasure the time we do have. Shan't mope in front of them. Shan't make them feel like they need to spare any consideration for me.
I encouraged myself as best I could, trying to shut away the solitude churning in my heart from getting the better of me. Alright. Now we skip ahead again. And see if anything changes. Is this the end of the chapter? That's the end of the chapter. Okay, so was it the next chapter, or was it that chapter that we followed Dehar? Because we didn't get kidnapped. The entrusted bookmark. Okay. Oh, so it picks up right from here. Interesting. Right, because it was after this that she decided she was going to go visit them, and then she found Dehar. But we cut that chapter short, and now we're in a new chapter. Okay. Out of, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. Out of curiosity, we got A. We're not full. Okay. Alright. Let's see what this chapter does.
Should I call out to him? Should I run after him? But even were I to do so, I don't know what I ought to say.
Unable to decide on the proper thing to do, all I accomplished was watching as he disappeared into the distance.
You know, eavesdropping on others' conversations is rather impolite of you, Miss Whiteley.
Holmes, were all those things you said true?
Possibly. Possibly not. Such is the nature of the credible rumor. Akachi may be easily swayed by his emotions, but he is no slave to ignorance. I would presume he will consider carefully what I said and act to ascertain the truth.
I don't think wanting to believe in others is a bad thing.
That's exactly the sort of sentiment I'd expect from one as naive as yourself. But in a detective's line of work, all it serves to do is dull your ability to make accurate judgments.
Unfortunately, I had no counter to Holmes's argument. Drat. In the wake of that incident, I noticed Akachi began to behave more distantly toward me.
Miss Whiteley, our daily lessons are not meant to be taken as a child's lullaby. How many times must I remind you of this? I'm sorry, Akachi! If you're truly sorry, then take more care in the future. I will.
He certainly lets you off easily, doesn't he? Every time I fall asleep in class or forget my homework, you've seen how he lays into me.
Well, you've made a regular habit of it. What else would you expect?
You're one to talk, Kobayashi. He gets angry with you nearly as much as with me.
Well, you see, the reason he's upset with me is because of my attitude, and not because of my behavior. Which, I might add, is the opposite of you.
Ouch. You sure know how to hit a man where it hurts, don't you?
What are you doing, Kobayashi? We need to leave for the agency straight away.
Oh, right! Well, I suppose I'll see you tomorrow, everyone.
The two of them gave a polite nod and exited. They really do seem quite busy these days, what with their work for Dehar. It feels as though they make their way there after school almost every day now. Akachi still seems rather cold toward me, too. I wonder if there's anything I can do about that. The days and weeks rolled by, and eventually we entered the 3rd year of our education. That strange sense of distance remained between Akachi and myself, but we nevertheless retained our good rapport as schoolmates. Sometimes he would tell me off. At others, he would help me with my studies. I found him always to be a caring person and owed a great deal to him. The time passed more quickly than I realized.
Listen, Akachi, what do you intend to do?
About what?
Once we graduate from this academy, our time in this country is over. And perhaps it has slipped your attention, but that's not very far off now. Don't you think it's about time we told everyone?
I suppose you have a point.
You've already let Dehar know, haven't you?
I have. He was quite understanding about the matter, realizing that we were here as part of a student exchange program and would necessarily have to return home at some point.
Well, there were things about the man that always seemed rather strange throughout the time we've known him, but he always treated us with great kindness and consideration.
I've also apprised Mr. Mackenzie of our impending return as well. We owe him a great deal, after all.
By that, am I to infer you've not told Holmes and the rest of our schoolmates, then?
No, but I intend to.
That means you've yet to tell Emily either, then.
Kobayashi, for what reason would you choose to single her out by name?
It's just knowing how you are. I would wager you'll find it difficult to break to her the news of our return to Japan.
That's not...
Can you honestly look me straight on and tell me I'm wrong? At first, you seem like a difficult man to understand. But the more one gets to know you, the more one is like to realize how surprisingly easy it is. I'm just trying to ensure you won't board that ship home with any lingering regrets.
I had spent my day like many others, scouring the library looking for any books and materials I could find about Japan. Ever since I had decided on the subject of my thesis as differences in social values between East and West, I had become a familiar sight in the library. Almost. Even standing on the tips of my toes, stretching my arm out as far as it would reach, I was still ever so slightly too short to reach the book I wanted. Just a little more.
Is this the book you want?
Thanks. Suddenly, someone's hand reached up and touched the book I had been straining to reach.
Inazo Nitobe's Bushido. While I knew it had been published in America, I was not aware it was also available here.
Akachi!
Here you are.
Akachi plucked the book from the shelf and handed it to me. Thank you very much.
Miss Whiteley, might I ask a little of your time?
Of course. What is it?
I'm not sure the library is the best place for a discussion. Might I suggest we go elsewhere?
All right.
Oh boy.
This is gonna hurt, isn't it? Together, we made our way to the courtyard. So, what was it you wanted to talk with me about?
Well, to put it simply, after our graduation, Kobayashi and I will be returning to Japan. I have no idea as to when we'll be able to return to English again either. I just wanted to inform you of that. You have done a lot for the two of us in our time here, after all.
I wasn't sure how to respond to him. Oh, you're going back. In spite of my feelings, I couldn't bring myself to tell him I would miss him.
I will never forget all that I learned here in this country, nor my numerous encounters with a certain unusual English lady.
Certainly you can think of a more flattering way to describe me. Though I didn't understand why, that was all I could think to say to him as we stood there. But behind his glasses, his eyes had even more a look of loneliness than usual. The light that shone down upon the courtyard was warm and bright. Unable to find the words to express what I felt, all I could do was turn my gaze downward, avoiding the light. Girl, you chickened out. Eventually, the day arrived on which Akachi and Kobayashi were scheduled to depart. They would be returning home aboard a ship that had been sent on an expedition from Japan, along with the members of its crew. I and many of my fellow schoolmates made our way to the port of London to see the two off.
You arrived later than I expected, Emily. Did something happen?
Apologies. I simply took a little longer than I expected getting ready.
Honestly, it was you who first proposed coming to see them off, Miss Whiteley.
Oh. Yes, I suppose you're right. Ultimately, that sense of distance that had long sat between myself and Akachi never disappeared. But in spite of that, I still wished to bid the two of them a proper farewell, and so I decided to invite everyone from our class.
There's no need to become irate just because she kept you waiting, Holmes. Especially when Lupin arrived even more fashionably late than she did.
Well, excuse me. An old lady I crossed paths with on the way here wanted directions somewhere, and I was quite unable to extricate myself from the situation.
I see that some things never change, Lupin.
Regardless, we ought to be on our way. We don't have long until the ship is scheduled to depart.
We made our way to the harbor where the ship was moored.
It feels like only yesterday that they first arrived in England. Time certainly does fly, doesn't it?
They had quite a presence in the class, for better or worse.
Doubly so for Watson and Lupin, who always seem to find themselves in trouble with Akachi. It never failed to impress me how thoroughly he kept his eye on everyone.
It's not like I tried to end up in trouble with him.
Though, now that I'm thinking about it, you found yourself in trouble with him from time to time yourself, didn't you, Emily? Emily? Are you listening?
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
If you walk about with your head full of daydreams, you'll end up tripping and falling into the gutter, you know.
You seem more focused on the contents of your bag than where you're going. Might there be some reason for that?
It's nothing. Come on, let's be off. I quickened my pace and soon found myself at the head of the group. But just then... No!
Emily?
Without warning, a man appeared from an alleyway just to the side of the road, and, mid-stride as I was, I crashed directly into him.
Goodness! Are you all right, Miss Whiteley?
You see, that's what happens when you neglect to take stock of your surroundings.
But I was looking.
Wait! What happened to your bag, Emily?
What? Oh dear! I had it with me just a second ago! I had my bag firmly in hand throughout our walk, but suddenly it was nowhere to be found.
That man with whom you had your unfortunate run-in must have stolen it. Damn it! Why did we have to run into a thief now of all times?
No! I really need that bag!
What? Wait, Emily! Honestly, this is our second time having to chase her here.
Thanks, boys. I hurried after the thief as fast as my legs would carry me.
You're in the way! Get lost!
I'm afraid I can't agree to that.
Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice from the direction the thief was fleeing.
Need a hand, Akachi?
No, leave him to me.
Don't give me that rubbish, Four Eyes! If you don't scram, you'll be taking a swim in the sea!
If you think you can, by all means, you're welcome to try.
Ah!
Akachi? Before me stood Akachi, the thief lying sprawled at his feet.
Ouch! Hilt of a katana right to the back of the head. I doubt he'll be waking up anytime soon. Wait, Emily? What are you doing here?
I was chasing him because he'd crashed into me and stolen my bag.
Then, as I suspected, this must be yours.
Akachi picked up the bag and held it out to me.
Here you are.
Thank you so much. Still, what are the two of you doing here? I thought you would be aboard your ship home by now.
One of the members of the expedition crew seems to have gotten lost on his way to the ship. So, being the upstanding gentlemen we are, we came to look for them. Anyway, I'll search this way, Akachi!
Thanks, bro. Kobayashi hurried off before receiving a response.
Wait, Kobayashi! Honestly, he never listens to a word I say. Miss Whiteley, I hope you didn't come all the way here on your own.
Of course not. Holmes and the others are with me. Although I seem to have gotten separated from them.
I take it that was what came of you deciding to chase after that man without alerting them.
Well, you may have a point, but...
It's not difficult to imagine. You really haven't changed, have you? Since that day you suspected us of illegally entering the country. Incidentally, are the contents of that bag of value to you? You seemed quite desperate to retrieve it.
Yes, it contains something I wish to give to you and Kobayashi.
I withdrew the items from the bag and presented them to him.
This is...
It's the same kind of dessert I gave you when we first met, and which I brought you at the agency where you were employed. Still, I decided to make these myself, so they don't look quite as picture perfect as those others.
You made these?
I can, at the very least, guarantee their taste, though. I had Pendleton watching over me through every step of the preparation and baking. I wish this were not all I could do, but I wanted to make something as a parting gift for the two of you.
I'm sure Kobayashi will be overjoyed. He does have quite the appetite for sweets, after all. And of course, I'm happy as well. We would be more than glad to accept them.
Nodding, he carefully took them from me.
Miss Whiteley, you are as active and forward as any man I have ever encountered. I believe it is because Engelsch has many such women that it was able to become the wonderful country it has.
What?
I will never forget that it was here I made the acquaintance of a wonderful woman like you. Still, I do find the number of times you fell asleep during class rather concerning. You really ought to try and do something about that habit of yours.
I'll try my best.
To tell the truth, I have something I would like to give you as well.
I timidly took what he presented to me.
What's this?
It's a bookmark. You seem as though you enjoy reading, after all.
It was made from very soft paper with several pale pink flowers pressed onto it.
The petals are so lovely.
They are cherry blossom petals, sakura, as we call them. In Japan, they're a symbol of spring, and a blossom I'm quite fond of besides. I've been using it myself since before I came to Engelsch, but I would be happy to know you were making good use of it.
But that makes it sound as though it's something really important to you. I couldn't possibly accept something like that.
You make a good point. It's too important for me to give to you. Which is why I will only be lending it to you for the time being. I'll expect you to return it to me upon our next meeting. Until then, however, I would be happy if you made good use of it. Miss Whiteley?
Of course. You have my word.
I answered him almost as if speaking to myself, as if reassuring myself that our promise would be fulfilled.
I'll take good care of it until we next meet. So, please stay safe until then, all right, Akachi?
I could feel my voice beginning to tremble and waver, the sense of uneasiness building up within me. I wished more than anything to meet his gaze as I spoke, but I could not bring myself to. Before I realized it, my eyes were once again looking down at the ground.
I will. I promise you that.
He gently placed his hands on my shoulders as if to comfort me.
When I next see the shores of Engelsch, you will be the very first person I call upon.
What?
When we meet again, I will have advanced greatly in my training, and be far more dependable a man than I am now. And on that day, I should be happy to reclaim the bookmark from you. So until then, I want you to remain safe, and to never lose that smile you so commonly wear. After all, a smile far better suits you than a pained expression.
He smiled at me, a gentle, kind smile that brought with it a human warmth.
Akachi, thank you.
I returned his smile, though it took every ounce of willpower. I felt as though at any moment I might burst into tears, that my body would be racked by choked sobbing. But I felt his strong hands upon my shoulders, and his gentle expression bestowed upon my shuddering spirit a merciful calm.
I wish you all the best, Miss Whiteley.
That was the last time he and I were able to speak alone. Soon after, Holmes and the others arrived, and together we saw Akachi and Kobayashi off as they boarded the ship. Forcing down the crushing loneliness that ached within me, I waved, sending them off with a smile. All the while, I clutched Akachi's bookmark tightly in my hand. I tried to suppress the tears that threatened to well up as best I could, believing that one day, somehow, we would be able to fulfill our promise. Though the smile I wore was far more mask than mirth, beneath it, my hope that this would not be our last meeting still burned. Under the sky of brilliant blue that stretched out to the horizon where it touched the sea, I stood in silence, watching their ship sail into the distance, unable to take my eyes from it until it grew small and eventually passed out of sight. Ill-fated end. Oh, that was sad. I don't think as sad as Holmes, but sadder than Watson's bad ending. This also has the hope, though, of them getting back together at some point. I'm surprised that Akachi just never looked into Deihar since Emily didn't get kidnapped by him. So they were like still in good terms with Deihar, never got on that ship. All those kids got spirited away to Hong Kong. And I guess Porlock's still living his best life out there somewhere. How interesting. So Deihar got away with it. Those kids are gone. But as far as, like, Emily and Akachi are concerned, they, like, stayed cordial. And it was obvious that they still cared deeply for each other, but they just never moved past that awkward scene that happened with the with her eavesdropping on him. But I really liked that he gave her that bookmark and was like, "You're right, I can't just give this to you, so I'm gonna have to come back and get it from you in a few years." So there was hope. There was hope at the end of all of it, which is nice to see. Kind of a bittersweet ending. Not sad, not happy, but there is hope to be had for the future for these two. I really like them together, though. They just fit each other really nicely. And, doing that bad ending, we got a little bit of a taste of Kobayashi's route. Unintentionally. That was rather interesting, really. So, we'll have that to look forward to at some point. That'll be a little while, though. I wonder if that bookmark is part of our inventory now. End? I'm just gonna check for funsies and see if it is. Rewards? Let's see. No, just the poem. Okay, so we don't get the bookmark. Alright. Just wanted to check. Okay. But that was that. Thank you guys very much for joining me for Akachi's bad ending. A little bit of hope there at the very end. But I thoroughly enjoyed everything about his route very much. And, yeah. I'll be interested to see if Lupin can actually win it out. I feel like he will, but we'll wait and see. For right now, Kenichirou is the reigning king for me. But we are done with London Detective Mysteria right now, so it's time to go back to Magical Diary, and we're going to be doing Barbara's route, so that should be rather interesting. I'm really looking forward to doing her route, because she's a bit of a mystery, that Barbara. See if we can get her to talk with us, and maybe even more winku winku. Yeah, should be fun though, guys. Hopefully I'll see you over there. Until next time, I will see you later.